Hi everyone, welcome to another week of groups and teams. I am really excited for this week. I think there's a lot of cool information that we are about to learn, and I think it is going to answer some of your research questions that you have. I think it's going to be helpful in your daily practical life as you work to motivate your own employees or work to motivate others who are on a team with you. So lots of good things are in store. So I just wanted to do, a couple of housekeeping items and a couple of updates and just kind of give you an overview of what's to come. And then I'll leave it in your hands. So, first and foremost, I have started grading assignments. So, you'll see there are grades entered in the grade book. One of those assignments is your ongoing sort of research journal logging that you're supposed to be doing all semester. So, we are entering into now our third week of content in this class. So, if you have not yet started journaling your ideas, you need to do so now because the end of the semester, while there's not like a specific number of journal entries you have to have, the goal is to show sort of consistent progress throughout the semester of reading and generating ideas and asking questions and just kind of logging your thoughts about what you're reading and what you're working through. I think sometimes we underscore the importance of this logging portion, but I'll tell you that I have, look, right here next to me, a book that I use as I'm writing down my own ideas. I'm working on a project right now, and so, like, oh, look, as I'm writing it, as I'm working through ideas, I'm constantly logging. I have ideas from graduate school that sometimes I go back to, and I'm like, that idea is still percolating in my brain, and I'm able to use it now, or, my knowledge has been updated since then, so I can take a different perspective. But part of learning is not just reading everything you're assigned and then taking that as fact. It's reading it, it's questioning it, it's saying, yeah, but what else? Or but what if? Or what if we designed the study in a different way? What could it have looked like then? One of your classmates raised a great question in their journal article where they said, a lot of these studies are done using groups of students, but what if we didn't do groups of students? What if instead we did groups of professionals? Might that change the results? We don't know. But then you can ask yourself, but why? Why would it matter? Why does the composition of the team make a difference? And that's when you start really digging deep to say, what's going on here? What individual characteristics might make a difference? What about the mission or the effort or the motivation of the team members? Might that make a difference? So if we're working in, a ad hoc kind of project for a class, that could be very different than if these are individuals we have to work with day to day to get a paycheck, or if we're brought together to work in a very high stakes environment. I think a lot about, firefighters who have to come together to fight these massive blazes like the LA fires, and what it takes to coordinate a team like that, particularly of individuals who might not work together. But when the stakes are very, very high, how important teamwork is. So kind of asking yourself these questions, what else you might want to know, what maybe you're skeptical about or would like to dig into further. Do these things that we're studying always work the same for virtual teams, in-person teams, hybrid teams? Why might we expect them to be a little bit different? So I want you to challenge yourself to not just take information at face value, but to say, yeah, this really resonates with me, or no, I have some questions, I want to know more, or oh, this sparks so many other ideas in my mind, and just journaling them down. So you don't have to make it anything fancy, you don't have to make it an essay. It's really just a place for you to put your thoughts and your reflections and your ideas. But I do want to see consistent progress on this assignment to show that throughout the course, you're not just reading to try to answer discussion questions. And I've tried to sort of shape our discussion assignments so they're not always the same. I'm not looking for one right answer. I'm not looking for you to regurgitate, right? This isn't a master's class. You are, doctoral students, and you have your own ideas. You don't need to give me back right answers. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking to engage with you through intellectual conversation. I'm looking for you to stimulate each other's ideas, to bounce ideas off each other. And so, you can also challenge each other's ideas. You don't have to agree with everyone, and you won't always agree. And it's okay to call that out in a way that's respectful and kind. It's okay to say, that's a little different than my experience, or, it's interesting, but not how I see it. And that's where real discussion comes together. So Um, as you progress throughout the next coming weeks, make sure you're going back to that journaling assignment and engaging in that journaling assignment by responding. Um, Beyond that, this week we are going to be talking about how to motivate teams. And a lot of you said this was something you're interested in for your own employees, you're interested in it for your own work group. So I have put together some readings. One, very fortuitously, there was a reading, a review that came out last year all about motivating teams. I thought, well, this is very timely and very convenient for you all. And then I've got a couple additional articles, one about just different ways to motivate. Should we be motivating by, the team? Should we motivate individuals? Should we do a hybrid approach? What is best? Also, how do we lead virtually? So there's an article that's more about leadership of teams, but I think there's some really important parts about how good leaders, how effective leaders motivate their team members. So what does it mean to motivate? And so this is a paper that's a reflection on everything we learned from COVID, and what it means to lead teams, particularly following this crisis. So I know parts of the world are kind of going back to pre-COVID, but some changes are here to stay, and it looks like Zoom is here to stay. We're not going to get rid of some of these communication devices. We're not going to get rid of remote employees completely. So we do need to understand how to lead and motivate them. So while that particular article is not motivation per se, it's about what good leaders will do to motivate their employees. So I'm excited to see which of those kind of recommendations resonate with you, and how true that feels to your workplace, and if it just changes your perspective on how to get people motivated. So what's really fun about this class is I'm reading your articles, I'm reading your responses, and I'm able to kind of uptake a little bit of what your interests are to try to match some of our readings and update in real time what you might want. So in that way, it's kind of like a self-guiding tour. You get to say, here's kind of what I want to know more about, and I'm happy to provide references and readings for that purpose, so that you are really exploring content that you find valuable and interesting, because when we find something interesting, we want to stick with it. And so you'll see again this week, really the centerpiece of our assigned readings are that review. You don't have time to read 40 articles, you don't have time to read 10 articles, and I understand that. So we're going to use these review articles as an easy way to say, here's what we know. Here's a pretty robust summary, a robust synthesis of what exists out there. So you don't need to read 10 articles a week. Let's read this review, and it kind of gives you the state of that topic area as we know it. And since that was published just last year, not a whole lot of research probably has been done to shift the landscape in any significant way. So I would start with the review. I think that's helpful. And then you've got 3 additional articles, one about leading virtual teams, one is more about how to motivate in terms of rewards, that sort of thing. So I think each of those will contribute a unique piece to the knowledge, but again, the review is kind of that grounding starting place. So that's sort of where we are, and I just wanted to share with you all, because sometimes it's hard to know what your faculty members are up to, and we don't see each other in person, and it kind of limits our conversation. But I am currently engaged in this really intensive research study. So I'm studying federal employees who have been affected by these mass terminations. And I'm doing qualitative interviews with them. So about an hour-long interview with each person. And I'm looking at both those who have been fired and what their experiences were like being terminated, and what that effect has on them personally, but also what the effect has on them in their career. And I'm starting to see some really unique patterns where people's careers are completely shifting into different areas. And so that is really unique. But then I'm also looking at individuals who remain employed, and what is the consequence of having a job but being amidst chaos or uncertainty, or having fewer people and fewer resources, and how do you get the work done with fewer people? It's really interesting. I started out, it's qualitative, so I don't have any hypotheses. I just had some broad research questions like, what are these experiences like? And I'm really starting to unfold a picture about workplace trauma, and how these experiences really do elevate to being traumatic, and what that impact has. So kind of unspooling the threads of what makes something traumatic, and what the long-term consequence of that might be for these employees and for, society at large. It's really fascinating. I'm telling you all because you like research, and I think my family is tired of hearing about this study. Um, but let me just tell you how personal it feels. So, for those of you that are thinking about academia, sometimes we don't talk about just how personal the work feels. I'm doing these interviews. Sometimes I'm spending 5, 6 hours a day just interviewing people about these very deep, dark, traumatic experiences. And it's heartbreaking, but it also feels like this huge responsibility of kind of being the bearer of their story, of them trusting me with their insights, and then using that hopefully to drive change and just drive information, just drive awareness of these experiences. So it's something that's been kind of heavy on my heart, but also feels so important, and exhausting and wonderful at the same time. And I just really feel like I'm onto something. You know what I mean? That my heart is really in it. I'm really interested, and I just feel a really great responsibility and sense of privilege that I'm able to do that I have this position where I can study what I want, and I can use my knowledge and expertise to share these stories of individuals who've been significantly impacted in very serious ways, and just how the workplace can really impact individuals' livelihood, their identities, their well-being. It's wild. So I wanted to share with you all, mostly because I just wanted to be able to talk about it with someone who might understand, just what that feels like right now. And if you're interested ever in any of the research I'm doing, I'd love to have more conversations with you all. So don't hesitate to reach out, and really just to say, when you love what you do, it's still hard, but it makes it feel so much more worth it. And maybe that's part of the motivating factor this week, right? When we talk about what it means to motivate individuals and teams, you got to love what you do. What you do has to feel like it's significant and meaningful. And when we have that, just doing the work is what is motivating, right? I don't need excess money. I don't need excess accolades. Just doing this meaningful work is what's driving me forward. So take that for what it's worth, but wanted to give you a little insight about what it is that faculty do all day. That's sort of what I've been immersed in for the last 4 weeks, and for the coming, probably throughout this course, through the end of the semester, just really intense data collection. And I'm so excited to be able to figure out what it all means, and seeing these pieces come together is really interesting and fulfilling. So that's where I'm at. And anything that you're working on, if you ever want to share, please do. If you just want to bounce ideas off someone, or just share with someone who will, also have that same level of excitement to, I'm happy to champion you and share your ideas, and just listen. If you want somebody to just listen to, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. So you all are doing awesome. I love reading your ideas. I can't wait to watch your assignments that you submitted this week. I think it's a fun format. I'd love feedback on that. So if you hated this, please let me know. If it's something you think was cool, you want to do it again, let me know. I'm trying to kind of have a break, right? Where you don't have to write essays every week. That's a lot. So if we can mix it up a little bit, I'm all about that. So again, feedback. If you liked it, let me know why. If you didn't like it, let me know why. And, take that into consideration and try to craft things that are useful to you, but also still, stimulate your brain. So here we are, another week. April's approaching. I hope you have an amazing week ahead, a productive week ahead. If you need anything at all, reach out anytime. Okay, take care. Bye.